Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My group will present about Islamic philosophy, which is Falsafah Islamiyah, and I will read the translation of page 70 and 71. At first glance, this title may seem contradictory, considering that philosophy is free abstract thinking and affected by factors such as heredity, society, and school of thought. But is it a pure thought in the human mind that can be implemented in every time and place? After researching this issue, is it isolation? If we say that philosophy is we believe that isolated, then we are obliged to investigate this issue, to see the truth and scope, and to see if a person can isolate himself from his society, heredity, and school, then rise above them, thinking for all nations in every time and place. And we have Greek philosophy and its history and men before us. If we review these philosophers, we find at the top is Aristotle. Aristotle is known as an atheist, and is it said he is the foremost philosopher who isolates himself to achieve pure thought in all aspects. And Aristotle has developed philosophy. He has made extensive attacks on God, the world, existence, human, logic, politics, and beyond. And he said there is no one God that everyone worship according to their belief, but they have many different gods in different places in Greece. What concept of God according to Aristotle? He see him is very beautiful, having a perfect image with no blemish and no movement.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. So I want to talk about Aristotle's view of God. So this is the God that he came up with his mind after his deep philosophical reflections. Aristotle did not say about his God is a creator, but all those qualities that Aristotle gave to his God are negative qualities, which he do not say that his God have the power of creation and also the power of creativity. But however, Aristotle recognized nature, and that nature show his principles. And if that nature show his principles, there were two directions to understand the world. First, a trend that makes the last clause of the events of existence, that something absent behind existence. And number two is another trend does not recognize the unseen, but only the viewer. Aristotle was limited in his interpretation of the manifestations of the universe to the viewer only, and he did not recognize the absence beyond nature will bestow it the power of influence, creation, and creativity, but rather explains the universe with reasons from within that are not absent behind or behind it. So, in the light what Aristotle decided about God, we find that he was influenced by popular doctrine because he did not make his God a creative creator, but gave him these other attributes which are the same popular doctrine subject to the natural idea that explains the phenomena of existence from within, and not in the phenomena of existence in front of Aristotle. The point is that in Aristotle's view, God is not creative creature in the conventional sense, but an entity associated with natural process in the universe. Aristotle associated God with natural principles and creation process observed in nature, rather than with exclusive creations located outside the universe. Okay, so why did Aristotle need this series of powers, the powers of gods, to reach the last mind, of which he says affects the earthly world? Then why didn't he say that this earthly world is directly influenced by the former and abolishes this media? This is because it is a fact of popular doctrine that pluralism has been influenced by Aristotle. Thus, we find that Aristotle, in fact, influenced by this popular doctrine, and Aristotle was the flame of ancient philosophical genius, so that it has been said about him, he is an atheist, which means that he does not acknowledge the beliefs of his environment and that he is stripped of them. So this philosopher was more brilliant than those who preceded him, and yet you find him influenced by the environment to the extent that it overcame him in his most dangerous opinions. Okay, so how then can we say that is the philosopher who has been stripped of pure thinking, unaffected by anything? Okay, then we say philosophy is complete impartiality and pure thinking with the general mind. Okay, so it is absolutely impossible for man to be devoid of environmental factors in his thinking. So the complete impartiality is impossible and cannot exist or be, but a person differs from another in the extent of this influence, and man is a prisoner of the environment, genetics, and school. So how can he strip them all in his judgments, issues, and thinking? Okay, yes, it is permissible to strip from them, but complete abstraction is impossible. So Aristotle stripped, but only to his extent mind.
I will read the translation of page 74. Right, the first paragraph, I observed that his surroundings subconsciously influence his thoughts and opinions. Despite this, he is widely regarded as a prominent figure among Greek philosophers. Next paragraph, Orientalists often dismiss Muslim thinkers as philosophers and criticize Islamic philosophy, saying that it is not philosophy because it is influenced by the Islamic doctrine. After this long discussion, we can respond to them by saying that Islamic philosophy is a valid philosophy and there is no contradiction between the attribute and the described. So the conclusion of this discussion is Islamic philosophy is indeed a valid philosophy. Next, we'll move to the next topic. It is about free thinking. What is free thinking or freedom in thinking? Freedom in thinking is the state of a thinker who is not influenced by any external factors. Various factors can impact a person's thinking, such as religious beliefs, economic environment, style and color of government, and other influences. These factors can affect the way a person thinks and perceives things. So the definition of free thinking is a freedom to form your thoughts and opinions without being influenced by any external factors. Now that we know the definition of free thinking, there are several questions in the context. The question is Islamic philosophy a type of thinking that ignores the external factor that influence the thinkers? Or is it thinking without considering the environment surrounding them from all sides? Or is it thinking without regard to the teaching of Islam? And were Muslim philosophers not subject to the religious factor when they thought and created philosophy? Or is Islamic philosophy something other than Greek philosophy? And if so, what do we call this type of philosophy? Before we answer, we must know the meaning of philosophy among the Greeks. They say it is an abstraction. So is it true that the Greek philosophers think independently without any external factor? because we have seen that Aristotle, the most abstract of them all, was influenced by the environment and not think independently.
The definition reported from the Greek philosopher has a contradiction, where the historian says he means being detached as possible. It means that no one among the people can be completely detached from these three things, that is, heritage, society, and school. Thus, these three things will influence the free thinking. And there are several questions for this thing, such as, were Muslims as impartial as possible when they establish Islamic philosophy, or do they think to isolate themselves from Islamic society and others? The answer for these questions are Muslim philosophers did not try to isolate themselves, and if they try, then they are not a Muslim anymore, because religion is an important thing to include in any kind of studies, even in philosophy studies. Thus, they turn to support the rules of religion with human logic and have philosophy subject to religion. And the result for this, it doesn't affect their thinking from being described as a philosopher. Plus, the undisputed reality is that Muslims have thought deeply about matters beyond the reach of the Greeks. This shows that Islam did not prevent them from thinking, but it was appointed to them. Next is about Greek philosophy, where this philosophy was established to instill in a man an authentic value to rule his mind, and this is what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did during his mission, where he called people to live what they found their fathers that led their mind to others, and thus the original value was benefited by Islam, and the awareness that great thinking is a whims and just a speculation. It is not entirely logical in all its principles, rather it borrows some from pagan religion. Lastly, conclusion for this topic. With all of this explanation, we know that Islam does not have conflict with correct thoughts, rather it calls for it because it is the true religion, and correct thinking leads to truth. Thus, it is not reasonable for truth to contradict truth, rather it strengthens each other. Thank you for watching our video.